What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Power Rankings, guys. Power ranking anything and everything Survivor Michigan. I'm Paul. I'm here as always with Joe.
Hello.
And man, we are ready to go again. What is going on Survivor Michigan?
Have we wronged the Survivor Michigan gods at some point? I'm very confused.
Somewhere we have taken a left turn that we were not meant to take.
Was it because we said we didn't like bobbing for apples? I mean,
that maybe. I don't know what happened. Is the ghost of Tom haunting the game, perhaps? I don't know. Wow.
Yeah,
I'm hurt though.
I am too. These last couple weeks have been rough.
Yes.
And it was I don't know. It was I'm shocked. I'm honestly shocked. And I was like, I don't know what to do with my rankings now.
Elisa I totally has been
agree. Literally number one almost every week, and I didn't know what to do. It was very sad.
Yeah. It was just crazy to see her go, and I think the hardest thing for me was trying to like rank and not be mad. I was like, all right, I'm gonna rank some of you, but some of you I am not fond of right now.
Yeah, I kind of felt the same way. And there's one person in particular I'm interested in seeing where you rank them. Because I put them in a spot and I was like, I could easily bump them up a couple. But I don't know. Obviously, we'll get into that. But yeah, I don't even know what to say because it's like I figured Elisa would be in the game until I don't know, final 5, final 4, like easily.
Yes,
she had an idol totally in her pocket.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was just as things started to unfold, it was just like, oh no, like, but also too, and I just rewatched it before we started this, like, and I'm sure we'll talk about Matthew when we get to the returners, but
yeah,
I feel like unfortunately, Elisa and Matthew just didn't play it correctly, and I think Katie was so desperate to find people, and you know, I'm sure we'll talk about her in a couple minutes, but I don't know. I just think things could have played a little bit differently, and I think especially on a tribe of just 5 people, like there's not a lot of, you know, not too many options. So it's like guarantee your safety over worrying about, you know, possibly making one person mad. I don't know.
I totally agree. I hate to say it because we're talking about 2 of the all-time greats, but it was just not a super well-played week. I mean, I'm sure Elisa will have a lot to say on Keep Your Torch Lit next week, and I'm sure that we will get some explanations for that because from the outside, it's like, why not just say, yeah, we're good? Like,
right. And what I thought about too is like they made the decision to take out Camilla before Katie. So it's like you now need to focus on that it was between 2 people. You got rid of one, but like you need to focus on that person who's left.
Yeah.
So if you're not showing any signs of wanting to work with them, of course they're going to look for other avenues. And again, It's only a 5-person tribe. There's not a lot of room to move around there. So it's like, you know, like I said before, you know, Katie, I think she went to Matthew and Elisa first to try to take out Dale, I think is who she maybe pitched, or even Jackson too. She might have mentioned both. So it was like, that was the opportunity. Just like you said, say that you're good, say that you'll do that, then take the rest of the week to really figure out what you want to do. But I feel like she just didn't get a solid response or answer, or didn't feel good about that. I mean, as we saw in the episode, I think Katie went to Jackson like an hour or two before, and Dale too, like right before Tribal, because she was like, yeah, I guess I'll talk to him to be nice, and then it turned into this huge plan. So
Yeah.
yeah, just very interesting how it went down, and it's tough saying that it kind of falls on the shoulders of Eliza and Matthew, but it kind of does.
I know. It's crazy. I can't believe we're here.
Mm-hmm.
This is really bananas, but like we've been saying, it makes our job tough
Mm-hmm.
and sends us into the merge really very up in the air as far
Mm-hmm.
as who's with who, where this is going, where the balance of power is going to shake out in the next
Right.
couple weeks. Because we have not really seen, I mean, really, we had the 7-1 vote on Tokidoki, and then the first 2 votes on El Norte. So the first 3 tribal councils. And then since then, it's just been insanity.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited to dive in. Let's start, as always, with the new players. And number 5, who do you have at number 5 this week?
So I have Katie.
I do too. Yay.
Oh, perfect. So as I mentioned before, I was considering putting her higher. Well, I was like, first of all, she's on the list 100%
Mm-hmm.
because we saw her really play this week. She was in a tough spot, and I think she really did a lot of things well.
Yes.
She got a new haircut, like the whole thing. It was like this brand new Katie has emerged, which I loved, and I think she really played things well. I know I kind of touched on it before, but it was like, she went to Matthew and Eliza to try to make something happen, and they were kind of wishy-washy, and I don't know if they ever gave her, a complete answer.
Mm-hmm.
So in like the 11th hour, she goes to Jackson and then Dale and is like, we got to get the returners out. And she got them to flip on their alliance. And not only that, she got them to also, mostly directly, but kind of indirectly flip on Matthew, who the 3 of the guys were super close. So it's like, I gave her a lot of props for being able to do that. The reason why I had her at 5 is like, I don't know what she does from here. Like, yeah, she's strengthened her relationship with Jackson and Dale, but I don't know how far that's going to take her because obviously all eyes are going to be on them for what happened. So I wanted to put her higher, but I'm like, I'm going to put her at 5. Like she did really well this week. I'm just not sure where she goes from here.
I fully agree. And I did the same thing. I definitely wanted to give her props because she was in a really terrible position and she played her way out of it, which is always something that's very difficult to do and something we gave Jack a lot of credit for a couple weeks ago.
Right.
And so I wanted to make sure that we were giving Katie her due as well. It's just the where does she go from here, I think, is a 50-50 because I think she's in that spot where she could be an easy merge boot. I hate to say that. But also if she, if Jackson and Dale don't seem to have necessarily a ton of options, I think they may have lost an option this week in Matthew.
Right.
And so maybe she is more valuable to them. And, anytime you can survive 2 weeks on the bottom, both, I think you deserve a ton of credit. So I gave Katie that credit as well.
Yeah. And I think, too, like you said, she could be the first merge boot, or people will be looking more at Jackson and Dale flipping, and their targets get bigger. So she could slide through a couple rounds. So I think, like, it'll be very interesting to see what she does at the merge, if she connects with other people. So yeah, it's kind of like she had to be on the list for what she did. And it's kind of like, we have our eyes on her to see how she moves forward.
Totally agree.
Cool.
All right. In number 4.
Who do you have? You go first.
I have Shannon.
Okay, interesting. I have Jackson.
Okay. Oh, you bumped him way down.
I did.
This is going to be an interesting conversation for sure then.
No. And so you go first. Why Shannon?
All right. Is Shannon on your list this week or no?
She is.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Interesting. Okay. So I like Shannon's game actually. I had her 5 last week and I wanted to bump her up 1 this week because I think she's doing exactly what she should be doing in this situation, which is just kind of getting her ducks in a row.
Yes.
I think she's kind of we saw her meeting with Eliza, which obviously isn't going to pan out, but I like the thought of that. Like, I like that she is exploring options. I like that she's kind of looking into, like, maybe I'll go here, maybe I'll go there, especially in the merge. And in a merge like this, where, like we said, we don't have any idea how it's going to shake out, it's good to kind of have, like, fail safes and things you can kind of fall back on and kind of, well, if it goes this way, well, if it goes that way, no matter how it shakes out, I feel like Shannon has the potential to be in a good position. She is still like, I think she's one of those people. I think she's funny.
Yeah.
I think her calling herself the funniest person in the game and Jackson the second funniest was hilarious because I don't think that's been our perception of her at all, or sort of the viewer perception. But I like it. I like that she's sort of kind of that bold person in the game. I would like to see a little bit more because I think her and Kat and Ivy thing could be valuable, but she just seems to hate them so much. And so I'm like, I don't think an alliance of people you have that much hatred for or vitriol is ever really gonna work long term.
Yeah, that's interesting. No, I agree. I had her at number 2 though.
Oh, okay. Which
So
is very funny because I have Jackson at number 2.
I feel like the last couple of weeks I've always put Jackson in like not the best, like if he should be higher and I put him lower, he should be lower, but I put him higher. But anyway, he knows that we love him. But
yes.
I was kind of so I felt like this was a really strong Shannon episode that I noticed. So I'm like, well, this could be either a really good thing or a really bad thing because we've seen that in the past, and then that person could go next, which I hope doesn't happen. But I feel like besides, like, yeah, she doesn't like a lot of people in the game, but I don't think she's really letting a lot of people know that. Like, she's letting us know that through her confessionals, but I don't think many people know that in the game. So I think that's good. And honestly, I think she might be one of the best connected people. And I was I was walking around my apartment trying to map it out because it's like she's sort of like gained a little bit of trust, or connected a little bit more with Ivy and Kat, even though she's not a big fan of them. And then of course Ivy is connected to Nate, so even though Shannon doesn't like Nate, if she's semi working with Ivy, then by some transitive property she's also working with Nate. And then she meets with Jack in this episode and wants to establish something with him. She also meets with Megan and they bond. So that's more connections. And then on the other side, she met with Eliza. Obviously, that's not going to happen. But she still has that strong connection with Dale. So if you're connected with Dale, you're also connected with Jackson. And then she's also got a connection with Matthew. So I feel like she's got a lot of connections and she has a lot of options. And like you were saying, putting her ducks in a row, I think she could go a lot of different ways, and I feel like she could also maybe not control every like side connection, but I think she'd have a little bit of power depending on where she wanted to go. So I'm very intrigued, as I say about every person, but I'm really intrigued to see what happens. We're definitely getting a merge next in 2 weeks or next week, because today's Tuesday, tomorrow's Wednesday. We're getting an episode in the next week, but
yes.
Sorry. So yeah, I don't know. I think in that aspect, I think she has a lot of options. And I think with the Dale Jackson and Matthew 3 kind of breaking up, you would assume, and we saw Matthew and Shannon meeting in the next episode. Like, I think, either like Jackson and Dale could go to her, and Matthew could go to her, and she could almost work them separately, but to help her. So I don't know. I feel like her connections just really like blossomed in this episode. So that's why I had her at number 2. I think she's actually set up really well.
I think you make a lot of really great points, and I am now after this conversation, even more excited to keep my eye on Shannon next week and say she could really seize control of
Mm-hmm.
this post merge if she has the game to do it. So
Right.
I think that this could be good. So I'm excited for that.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk Jackson.
Yeah. So I feel like I don't know. Like I have him at number 4, like I said.
Mm-hmm.
In some ways I like the move to, work with Katie, take out a returning player. Like I think Dale said, he was like, Aliza would never have gone to the Final Four with him, Jackson, and Matthew.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, taking that situation out of the game kind of makes sense. And he still has that connection with Megan. I think it's just like, as I feel like we pick a couple people each week where it's like we have a big question mark next to them.
Uh-huh.
So I think because of his decision to blindside Aliza and also blindside Matthew, I'm intrigued about what the other side, the other original Tokidoki members are going to think about that and where that may hurt him. So I feel like maybe I'm leaning more towards his game. Maybe took more of a hit from this move. But it's like, again, I have a question mark there. It's like, it could go either way. Like, he could be able to recover from this well, or it could take a hit. But I had to put him at number 4, I guess, for that reason.
Yeah, I think I put him higher just because I think that, going back to your point, I don't think Aliza was ever going to work with him.
Mm-hmm.
And she is definitely a power player. And
Yep.
I think I like the I'm going to get you before you get me thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that really was what was on Jackson's mind, was kind of saying like, hey, you were going to come for me eventually. And so I'm not going to ever give you the opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
I think him having sort of, obviously the Jackson and Megan thing, I think looms large over these last several episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think him having that is good for him. And I think getting Aliza out again limits everybody else's options, because now both Matthew and Jack are definitely very hamstrung in where they can go moving forward, right? Because 2 returners is not the same as 3 returners.
Mm-hmm.
3 returners you can build a coalition around or whatever, but 2 is not. There's just nothing there. And I think, listening to Camila on the Keep Your Torch Lit podcast last week talking about how getting rid of Ben was a mistake, I think is definitely coming home to roost for Jack now. 2 episodes after losing an option, I think now, because Jack had, he was spoiled for choice then, so he could cut off Ben and say, whatever, I've got all this other stuff going on. And now Camila and Aliza later, it's like, oh, it would be really nice to still have Ben in the game, to at least have somebody in there that's interested in working with me, that I know is interested in working with me.
Mm-hmm.
So for that reason, I put Jackson a little bit higher, because I do think that he's still in a really good spot. I don't know that even if they come after Power, I don't know that he'll be the merge boot, because I don't think those 3 Tokidoki ladies would really be that interested in going after Jackson all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
So that was why I bumped him a little higher. But again, it's interesting to see.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Same.
So number 3, who did you have?
I had Dale.
As did I.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
So yeah, I knew when I was gonna rank my 5 that Dale and Jackson would be like next to each other somewhere in the list. So I just put him 1 spot higher. They could have been interchanged, I feel like. Again, he's kind of in a similar position with Jackson now. Like he, took out Aliza in some aspects, was a good move. Like you said, get her before she gets me. He has the idol, so I think that's probably why I put him above Jackson. He has that connection to Shannon still, which I think is also why I put him a little, above Jackson as well, because I feel like I just saw Shannon's connections kind of like, more pronounced in this episode. So I was like, okay, if Dale sticks with her, he could be okay for that reason. But yeah, I think again, like I kind of said with Jackson, it's like, it'll be interesting to see where his game goes from here. Like, is Matthew completely done with them? Like, would he be able to build something there? Or, and they have Dale and Jackson have Katie now, which is good. I mean, that's a 3 and what are we at, 10 left?
Yeah.
So, they just need to, if they could pull in a couple people, that would be good. So it's, same situation as Jackson, kind of just, Dale question mark, like, how does he recover from this vote? How does he, make his target go down? And I think a couple people mentioned like he's going to be like a strong challenge threat. But again, he has that idol. So hopefully if he gets wind of something, I don't want to see another person go home with an idol in their pocket. So hopefully he would be the one to play it. Side note, the whole White Castle thing.
Oh my gosh.
What is with Survivor Michigan people and like burgers?
That was my immediate thought as well.
Aaron cooking the very rare burgers last season, which didn't go over well. Now Dale's taking his entire tribe to White Castle. Personally, I've never been there. I'm also a vegetarian now, so I don't, unless they have a veggie burger, I don't think I'd ever need to eat there. But I thought that was so funny, and the fact that it sounded like no one really enjoyed themselves there. I don't know how we haven't seen like a Dale and Tokidoki go to White Castle movie poster.
Exactly. Somebody's got to Photoshop that.
So if that's not a thing yet, hopefully that becomes something. But I just thought that was a really funny. It was kind of like Dale the dad, just like taking his kids to, to get some fast food or whatever.
That is definitely how it felt. I think maybe the reason I ranked Dale under Jackson is because White Castle sucks so bad that, like, literally watching it, and I know this sounds like totally insane, but literally watching it, I was thinking, like, if somebody tried to take me to White Castle like that, I would be so mad. Like, I would be inclined to vote them out if they were like, oh my God, White Castle is so good. Like, no, it's not.
So
it's
funny.
Not good. Like, I don't. Ugh. So I think maybe that, because again, I did the same thing you did, where I was like, Jackson and Dale they're very much in this together at this point, very much kind of one and the same.
Yeah,
that really might be the reason I bumped him lower, because he does have that idol, which I like. Held on to it this week, so obviously he was feeling pretty confident that it was going to go his way one way or the other, which I think is good. He had a good pulse on the game. And I think that Dale moving forward, he's not as dynamic as Jackson. I mean, you see Jackson, he's got the personality, and he's such a smooth talker, and he's flashing the baby blues everywhere. And you don't see that as much with Dale, which I think cuts both ways. I think is a bad thing in that I think Jackson is the better smooth talker. So I think Dale has to at some point reckon with the can I beat Jackson thing.
Right.
Not now. I think he's right to not be thinking about it now, but at some point he does. And then it cuts the other way, though, because he's not as much of a visible threat as Jackson is, because you don't look at him and think, oh man, I'm never going to be able to beat Dale at a final tribal council.
Yeah, that's really
I think that's why 3 is the perfect spot, is because I think it cuts both ways. So it's one, it's good or it's bad, or I don't know. I don't even necessarily know what the comparison is quite yet, but maybe it's like Denise and Malcolm. Maybe Jackson is like Malcolm and Dale is like his Denise. So
I like that.
Maybe, but I'm definitely interested to see where it goes, because again, going back to the Katie thing, I mean, that is exactly kind of a Malcolm and Denise thing of what happened in Philippines, where Lisa goes to Penner and Carter and is like, hey, let's go to the Final Four. And Penner's like, I don't know. And then I didn't try the Penner voice, but, and then they go to Malcolm and Denise, and Malcolm and Denise are like, heck yeah. And then that's what becomes the Final Four.
Yeah,
so
that's a good point.
Maybe Dale as Denise. I don't know. But I'm keeping my eye on him also. I need extra eyes to keep on everybody this week.
And I really hope he didn't take his now wife. I hope their first date wasn't at White Castle.
Ugh, me too.
But hopefully we can, when very, very far into the future of the season, when Dale's finally on the podcast, hopefully.
Putting it on our list of questions for Mrs. Dale. Yeah, absolutely. So in your number one spot, you had
Megan.
Me too.
Yeah, I once again, well, first of all, I was very offended by all the people that were talking crap about her smile, because we know that we're a big fan of that already. But
yeah.
I thought that was interesting. And I think it's kind of the first time we've also kind of heard some doubts about Megan. So now I'm like zeroed in on the edit, even though I've been wrong like the whole season. I'm like, uh-oh. Like, what does this mean? But beyond that, I feel like, again, she's still in a really good spot. I think her take on the returners, like she's telling Shannon about Eliza, Matthew, and Jack being closer than they're letting on. Like, again, I feel like maybe not fully, but I think she definitely had a part to play in casting more doubt on the returning players. And I wish I would have remembered the line, but she said something about, I think she had initially kind of been wanting to target Matthew, but she was like, I need these other returners gone, so Jack like shifts all of his focus to me. She was like, I need Jack working for me. I think that was the line. And I was like, that is perfect. Like, I just love all the last couple of weeks for Megan. It's just been, I don't want to say unexpected, but it was kind of like, I know we've said this before, like the first couple of weeks we were like, okay, we really like Megan, but where's like Megan the player? And of course, last episode or 2 episodes ago, Megan the player showed up and we got, exactly what we wished for, which was great. So it's really intriguing watching her play, and just the level of strategy from her has just been awesome. And, she's meeting with Shannon. She's meeting, I guess she met with Ivy, maybe Kat too. I forget if they showed that, but she's trying to build some connections over there. Yeah, that maybe there's a little bit of doubt from Nate and Ivy specifically, but I don't think anyone's necessarily pinning her as a big threat. And I think there's still like bigger fish to fry in other people's eyes, where Megan could easily slip through another few rounds without people even, noticing. So I think she's in a great spot. I was happy to put her at number 1.
I totally agree. I think this is the 3rd week in a row where the boot has been the best for Megan. And I'm not saying she's like puppet mastering or masterminding all of that, but it is the 3rd week in a row where somebody that I don't know that she was ever going to have a relationship with long term is gone.
Right.
And so it's, there's kind of 2 ways to go about it. Either, you make relationships with everybody in the game, or everybody you don't have a relationship with just gets voted out. And that's what's happening to Megan right now, is everybody she doesn't have a relationship with is getting voted out. So again, I think she's in a great spot. I think she's a good player. I think that this move does exactly what she said it was going to do, which is bring Jack closer to her. And eliminate his options, and also it does the same thing for Jackson, I think, is brings him closer to her in a merge situation. And so it's like, once again, everything's coming up Megan. I don't know if that's going to last forever, but I am excited while it does, that's for sure. So, and while it does, she's going to keep riding the top of my list.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm really excited to see as we say every week, where her game goes from here. But I think she's in a great spot, like we said. And yeah, can't wait to see. I'm hoping. I feel like the number one spots have been a little bit,
Yeah.
they've been kind of cursed this season. But I'm hoping that that ends this week, moving forward for a while. So yeah, can't wait to see what happens.
I agree. All right, let's get to the returning players. Scant as this list is becoming.
Yeah. I know it's very weird only having 2 to rank. So I'll be interested to see what you ended up doing with the 2 returners, but who did you have at number 2?
I had Matthew in the number 2 spot.
I did as well.
Okay, so we were sort of on the same page there. This was just a disastrous week for Matthew's game.
Mm-hmm.
Basically the worst outcome that could happen for him outside of getting voted out, I think, is losing Eliza, because it harms him in a number of ways. His relationship with Jackson and Dale is definitely going to be hurt, if not fractured, if not totally irreparable.
Mm-hmm.
Eliza is somebody who was a good meat shield for the returner because she's so social. That is there. And then, what relationship does he have with the Shannon Cat Ivy side of his original tribe?
Mm-hmm.
What relationship does he have with Jack that is that playable for him? I just think this, like we said at the top, I don't think that Matthew and Eliza played this week correctly.
Right.
And I think it leaves him in just such a vulnerable position that he could easily go in that kind of big threat merge boot spot, where we saw that happen on Survivor quite a bit for a while, where it was like the big guy goes home in 10th at the merge boot spot, whatever. I think he's very vulnerable right now.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. Like you said, like we said at the beginning, I feel like he and Eliza underestimated Dale and Jackson and even Katie. And I think, like we said before, there's only 5 people in this tribe. Like, there's not a lot of room for error. And I think, as we said before, like, they should have just agreed with what Katie was saying and then taken some time to really think about what they need to do and how to make sure, if they truly wanted Katie to go, to make that happen. And I think they didn't play the week, in the best way. And I think, like you said, I wrote down hell hath no fury like a lion scorned. So I'll be very interested to see what Matthew does. Like, I think he is the player that could recover from a situation like this if he plays it the right way. So, we saw him meeting with Shannon in the scenes for the next episode. And, she has some connections, maybe a little bit stronger, to Ivy and Kat and whatnot, that he might not have. So, and then obviously there is still Jack. So it's like, they're going to be together still and try to make something happen. So it really, like you were saying before, like with this merge, it's like, even with our rankings, it's like, just because we have Megan and Shannon higher or whoever, like the merge episode is going to be really like where the power really comes into play and who actually has it and which alliances have it and which connections have it. So if Matthew finds himself on the right side of that, I think he could recover and go a little bit deeper. Or it could be the flip side, where if he just can't get his footing with the players left over and, a big enough alliance forms that he's not a part of, unfortunately, hopefully not, but we might see him, like you said, get taken out early merge, which would really stink.
I think it's important to note too that this is now uncharted territory for Matthew.
Mm-hmm.
So basically everything we've seen him do so far, we saw him do in season 1. He played on a pretty winning tribe. He played with a big majority alliance. He was in a good spot, so on and so forth. We've seen all of that before. And then there was a swap and he got voted out. And this time, instead of getting voted out, he survives.
Right.
And so now it's almost sort of like we've entered the alternate reality season 1. Where it's like, what happens if Matthew doesn't get voted out there in season 1 and he goes into the merge and has to recover and has to put back together an alliance and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Like what if it's Mitch instead of Matthew in season 1 and Matthew survives and Mitch doesn't? What happens there? And I think now we get to kind of find out. And I think that's really exciting, is to see Matthew in a space we've never seen him before, playing from behind, and, really going to get a chance to earn that reputation.
Yeah, I really like that correlation. It's like, like you said, it's like just picking up where his season 1 game left off. So it's like, we've not seen Matthew in a merge. We have no idea what he's capable of there. And I think that, losing Eliza, I think it's now given him like that fuel and that fire. Not that he didn't have it before, but I think it's like, okay, I got to turn things up here. Going into the merge for the first time, just lost a big ally of mine. Plus 2 of my allies turned their back on me. Like, I really need to play the game even harder than I was. So yeah, I'm excited to see what he does with that for sure.
I'm excited. So that leaves us in number 1 with Jack.
Yeah, I think between the 2 of them, Jack's in a little bit of a better position. I think, first of all, the whole situation with like the tribe was supposed to throw the challenge.
Oh, I'm so glad we're talking about this.
Yeah. And like, and it's funny, I almost put Nate on the list because he unknowingly, I don't think he was going to go, but he kind of unknowingly saved Jack, right?
Yeah.
So I thought, and Jack wasn't even present at the challenge, which I thought was also like, I was like, oh gosh, what a way to go out for him. Like,
yes,
the whole tribe throws the challenge. He's not even there to help win, and then he goes out, but obviously that's not what happened. So thank you to whoever ended up putting Nate on the puzzle.
Yes.
For Jack at least. But yeah, I think, with Eliza out of the game, that obviously hurts him in a way. But I think him and Matthew will obviously get closer. And then again, it's almost kind of like the tides might sort of turn where Megan sort of becomes, I don't want to say like protecting Jack. I mean, kind of like, I feel like we know Megan controls a lot of things that happens in these games now, or in these rounds. So it's like, I feel like with Jack being connected to Megan, and then Megan is connected to Jackson and Dale, kind of, I don't know. I think Jack's just in a slightly better spot than Matthew. And, he's met with Shannon this week. And I think hopefully with the win, the unintended win of the challenge, maybe that tribe, and especially him, he's been able to make some connections with some of the newer people over there. So I think if I was just like betting at where him and Matthew are right now, I think Jack's just in a little bit of a better spot. So that's why I had him at number 1.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm glad we did shout out Nate, though, because even though he didn't make my top 5, that Spencer Bledsoe-esque performance on the slider puzzle, just getting in there and boom, 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 was exceptional. Yes. I was really, really impressed with that. And I'm like, I think I keep wanting Nate to get in there and really like get into a good spot. So then I really did almost put him in that 5 spot instead of Katie, because Katie was so woefully bad on that slider puzzle that I was like, Katie, you threw this whole week into chaos. You had a huge lead, but no. So I'm excited to see if Nate can. Come on, Nate, go, go, go. I'm like, go, Nate. But no, back to Jack. I totally agree. I think he's in a little bit better spot because I think his relationships are a little bit better and his threat level is a little bit lower.
Yeah.
But I don't think either of these guys are in a very good spot right now, I have to be honest. I think it could easily be either of them going forward. And I'm worried about that. This would be so strange if we had 4 returners and they were all gone, before even like the final 6 or so.
Right.
Would be very. But then again, I guess that's sort of what happened in Edge of Extinction.
I was just thinking about that. I was like, wait, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, they were all gone because 2 were gone. Was it 2 were gone before the merge?
Yeah.
And then, yeah, no, I was thinking the same exact thing. You're right.
So maybe that is a fulfillment of prophecy from years before the Edge of Extinction ever happened.
Right,
but
right.
I think with Jack, the whole question is going to be: are people going to want to play with him? Because we know he has the social game, we know he has the strategic acumen. He's got all of that. He's got all the parts. But sometimes you just get shut out, and nobody wants to play with you. And so that's the thing that Jack is going to have to really work some of these people. Going to have to, he's got Matthew and Megan right now.
Right.
So he's got 2 people that he knows will work with him. He's got to turn that 2 into 6 somehow. Or that 3, excuse me, because him and Matthew and Megan make 3. He's got to somehow turn that 3 into 6.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited to see him try, for sure, because I think he's the kind of player who can do it, for sure. Will he, and will they let him in is the real question.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think that if unfortunately one of the, it doesn't even saying one of the returners now, there's only 2. So like if Jack or Matthew, if one of them go like at the first merge vote, I feel like the one that's left would probably be able to get kind of far, because you would hope by then, there's bigger targets out there. And I was kind of looking at it. I think, and I think Jack's connection to Megan definitely helps. And I think I could see, she kind of mentioned it in this episode where like, take out Eliza or Matthew, so Jack, works for me, fully. But so yeah, I agree that they're both in danger, and I think Jack's just slightly in a better position above Matthew. This merge episode is just going to be. I think it's going to be very telling, like we said before. Like whoever ends up getting the power. Although again, every episode has just been insane, so it's like one alliance could form, and then the next week it could be something different. But I think the first merge vote is going to be really telling as to like who takes the reins of the power, at least that week. It's who knows? Who even knew we would get to this point?
Who knew?
Who's gone already?
And the whole thing that's so great about this season is we've lost 2 returners already. The other 2 are vulnerable, and yet we're still looking at such a great season because this cast is so good. And there's so many interesting personalities and dynamics on this cast that I feel like, I obviously don't want to lose either of our returners because I love both of them.
Yeah.
But even if we were to lose one, it's like we'd still have so many great players, strong personalities that, I think we're in a really great spot as viewers and as fans to just see where this one shakes out. Yeah.
That's a good point. Right. It's like you said, we lost a lot of good people, but there's a lot of good people still in. So it's like, it's really tough to see someone, who we're rooting for or who we like go, but then there's still so many left in the game to root for. So yeah, kudos to the casting team. They picked a really good group.
Totally agree. So here we are again, another week of Survivor Michigan Power Ranked, another set of big questions that we have to ask going forward. I'm excited to see where this goes. And we will be back with you next week, Power Ranking anything and everything Survivor Michigan. As always, I'm Paul. I'm here with Joe, and we will see you then.
Have a good one, everyone.